is up, everybody? Thanks for stopping by the Border City Kids page and tuning into this video on Hurricane Maria. Now, before we get into this video tonight, I want you guys to do me one quick favor. Down below in the comments, I want you to answer one quick question for me. Okay, and that question is, what is that major storm that you remember growing up as a kid that you still have in your mind today? Okay, it could be a hurricane, it could be a tornado, anything nature related. I'm not asking you guys to hit the like button or subscribe button. I just want you to answer. What is that major storm that you remember growing up as that you remember today? Please write it in the comments below, and back to the video. I just want to take a quick moment to thank all of the viewers, listeners, subscribers for tuning in weekly to watch our videos. Every like and every share and every comment you have means the world to us. You help keep this show alive, and I'm very grateful for that, so thank you once again. Tonight, we revisit 8 years ago, September 2017, when the Caribbean was struck by one of the most deadliest and most destructive hurricanes in modern memory. A storm that didn't just tear across an island, but also exposed deep wounds of inequality, infrastructure failure, and human resilience. This is the story of Hurricane Maria. The 2017 Atlantic hurricane season was already one for the record books before Maria ever formed. Hurricane Harvey had drowned Houston, Texas under catastrophic and unprecedented flooding. Hurricane Irma had just cut a catastrophic path through the Caribbean and Florida. Communities were still reeling, trying to recover from the damage already done, when the Atlantic's warm waters gave birth to one other monster. On September 16th, 2017, a tropical storm was named Maria. At first, it looked like just another late hurricane season storm. It was something to watch, but it wasn't anything to panic over just yet. But the environment was perfect. It had warm sea surface temperatures, low wind shear, and plenty of moisture, which are the perfect ingredients for a Category 5 hurricane. In less than 48 hours, Maria exploded in strength, and by September 18th, it was a Hurricane Category 5 hurricane with sustained winds of over 160 miles per hour. Meteorologists called it textbook rapid intensification. For the people living in its path, it meant disaster was coming faster than anyone had time to prepare. On the night of September 18th, Hurricane Maria slammed into the island of Dominica. Within hours, roofs were ripped off nearly every building. Power lines were tangled in the streets, and the lush green forests of the island were stripped bare. They were gone. Prime Minister Roosevelt Scarrett barely survived on his own because his own home was destroyed as well. But Maria wasn't finished. Hurricane Maria set its sights on Puerto Rico, and in the early hours of September 20th, Maria made landfall near Yabucoa, Puerto Rico, as a Category 4 hurricane with sustained winds of 150 miles per hour. It was one of the strongest storms to ever hit the island in nearly a century. Imagine for one moment the sound of 150 mile per hour winds howling like a freight train outside of your home. The windows rattling with each gust, roofs torn away in just seconds, and entire rivers flooding their banks, swallowing homes, bridges, and roads. Within hours, Puerto Rico was in complete darkness. The island's entire electrical grid collapsed. 3.4 million people were suddenly without power. Cell towers were down. Communication was not going to happen. Water systems failed. Puerto Rico was cut off from the rest of the world. Maria's wind and rain did cause more than just destruction. They set off a humanitarian crisis as well. Hospitals, which were already strained, lost electricity. Generators failed. Patients on life support, dialysis, or oxygen found themselves in life or death situations. Doctors and nurses worked tirelessly in sweltering conditions, sometimes using their cell phones as their only source of light so they could see at night. The lack of clean water became a nightmare. People collected water from contaminated streams and even from Superfund sites, locations that were known to have toxic waste in their water. Roads were blocked by landslides and fallen trees. Entire communities in the mountains were cut off for weeks and weeks. Families painted the words, "We need help," on their roofs so that helicopters flying by would be able to see them and hopefully aid or help them in any way that they could. This wasn't just a storm. It was a complete collapse of infrastructure. and in the midst of all the chaos, politics entered the picture. The official response to Hurricane Maria became one of the most debated topics in 2017. The US government sent aid, but for many Puerto Ricans, of course, it just wasn't enough, and it wasn't fast enough either. Emergency supplies sat at ports, unable to be delivered because damaged roads and bureaucracy. Millions were left waiting for food, water, and medical care. Puerto Rico's governor, Ricardo Rosello, pleaded for help, calling it a humanitarian crisis. Then came the question of death tolls. At first, the official count was 64 deaths, but we knew that that wasn't the actual number. And after months and months that followed, researchers studied the mortality rates and found that 3,000 people died as a result of Hurricane Maria and its aftermath. This made Maria one of the deadliest disasters in U.S. history. The storm also reignited conversations about Puerto Rico's status as a U.S. territory, how people treat its American citizens, but often treated as second-class citizens when it comes to federal support. Maria exposed the inequalities in a way that can no longer be ignored. Numbers tell one story, but the real measure of Hurricane Maria is found in the lives that it touched. Families spent weeks in the dark, cooking meals over open fires. Parents struggled to keep their children safe from disease. Elderly people trapped in high-rise apartments had to rely on neighbors to carry water up flights and flights of stairs. One man described walking 5 miles every day just to find clean water, and then walking 5 miles all the way back. Another told of waiting in 10 hours in the blistering sun, hoping to get gasoline just for his generator. But through it all, of course, there was resilience, and this is why I do these videos, not because of the negatives of the storm, but because of the positives that are the outcome from these storms. Communities came together. Neighbors helped neighbors, and churches, communities, and schools became shelters for the people. People shared what little they had, and slowly, painfully slowly, Puerto Rico began to recover. Years later, Hurricane Maria's impact is still felt. Billions of dollars have been pledged for recovery, but progress has been uneven. The electrical grid remains fragile. Thousands of Puerto Ricans relocated themselves to the mainland, many never to return again. But Maria also sparked change. It pushed conversations about climate change, unpreparedness, and infrastructure to the forefront. It reminded the world that stronger storms are becoming the new normal, and the vulnerable communities will bear the brunt of their fury because they just don't have the resources to be prepared for these storms. Maria was more than just a hurricane. It was a warning and a lesson, a tragedy that Puerto Rico will never forget. This concludes tonight on our episode of When Nature Strikes. Thank you so much for listening and subscribing if you have to our channel. Every Friday I'm going to keep putting out episodes, and I'll also release a few shorts the week after. If you did enjoy this episode, please hit the like button. You don't have to, but if you did enjoy it, please do, because it does help out our channel. Also take a look at our other episodes like Hurricane Katrina, the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, or the devastating tornadoes that have torn through Oklahoma, and there's lots of videos on those. Please stay safe, and until next time, remember that when nature strikes, it strikes without warning. Good night, and thanks for stopping by.